right, perfect. So, question about the expansion. Obviously, we're going to focus on that one. We've got a few questions following the announcement. Very excited about it. But will there be followers? Because there was no mention. There was mention about the artifact being not removed, but discontinued in the expansion. What about the followers?
So we won't have followers in the world, and we're still deciding how we want to implement missions and followers for Battle for Azeroth. So we haven't made a final decision. So we're not really announcing what's going to happen with that feature. But we do know for certain we're not going to carry the bodyguards into the world.
Okay, gotcha. So bodyguards are for sure. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So what about an immediate raid, Antaros? Will we have any info about the release date for Antaros?
Well, it's coming soon. Like, I think your progression through Argus right now is taking you to that destined path. I don't think we have a specific date that we're ready to talk about yet, but it will be soon. I know a lot of people are super excited for it. It will be soon.
It's Blizzard soon.
You will be raiding before Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the holidays.
Just to give you a general idea of when soon is. Yes.
Okay, exciting. We can't wait.
I'm ready to get in there too.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
We actually raid together, so
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Range DPS, melee DPS, we take care of it.
DPS? Oh.
Yeah.
He's ranged, I'm melee.
Okay.
So talking about DPS actually, so the Islands Expeditions, I'm super excited about it. But there's several levels of difficulty, and your role in the expedition seems to not really matter. So anyone can basically join the scenario. But is it still true at mythic levels? Like, for example, if there's 3 rogues that want to do it, will the matchmaking can potentially put 3 rogues together? And if so, will they be able to finish the scenario?
Well, much like Mists of Pandaria scenarios where the roles weren't really that important, they were able to be beaten with any combination of roles that you would want. One thing I'm excited about for something like Mythic, I would actually want to play with my friends and go in there sort of with an organized group. In terms of the matchmaking for Mythic, I don't think we've made decisions on that for finally yet, but for me, my goal would be to go in there with my friends and just wreck it, just like I would with a Mythic Plus or Raid.
Right, yeah, there's no group finder for Mythic, so maybe it's going to be the same, or we don't know yet.
I think we're still working that out, trying to come to what the right decision is.
It's like a big difference between Island Expeditions and what we had in the past with scenarios is scenarios were scripted. So once you had played them, you kind of knew what was going to happen, knew what to anticipate. And while we could, crank up the difficulty a little bit, it was going to be the same sort of thing, right? Difference here is we have AI, and the AI will actually behave differently each time you play through, and can behave differently depending on your group composition and your actions. So, for instance, if you were to take out the leader of the NPC side, the followers that they have might decide to become aggressive and come right at you, or they might scatter and be fearful. So.
And one thing that we even talked about in one of the panels was the personalities that these AI actually have. I think that really separates it too, where you might go in with a group against Sneaky Pete or something that's more stealth-like or rogue-like versus somebody who's going to come right at you. And the advanced AI is something that I'm super excited about too. Like John's exactly right. Most of our AI in our game historically has been very scripted. It's mostly like solving a puzzle. Like, once you know how to solve the puzzle, you can solve the puzzle again. This is going to be more organic, right? So when you go out there, it's going to be a slightly different experience every time.
Okay. So back to raids. Will there be changes to the general raid system? Let's say we have the flex mode for LFR, for normal and heroic, but the 20-person set for Mythic. Will there be any general changes to this system, or will it stay the same?
We don't have any plans for changes, so Mythic will still require that you have the same number of folks. That's a pre-organized group. But in terms of normal LFR and heroic, those should function the same way. Although one big advantage is we are going to support voice chat.
Yeah,
so,
I'm excited for that.
And a lot of people have found alternatives, but it'll be nice to have one that's now integrated in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So about the war fronts, there was some details in the second panel yesterday, but how long do you expect they will actually last? Like, is it going to be like Alterac? It can be range from 30 minutes to 8 hours for the worst or better case for some people. Because like, how many players will be needed to construct one building? If you look at the Warcraft,
I mean, Warfront's it's for 20 players, right?
Yeah.
And some of us may be harvesting resources, some of us may be building things, some of us may be out scouting. We're all going to be coordinating with each other, so we kind of decide what do we need right now. The sweet spot for us is probably going to be about a 45-minute experience. Okay. So we're going to tune around that, but that doesn't mean that certain groups might take longer or it might complete it faster. But it's meant to be, kind of like the wing of an LFR raid, take up about that amount of time.
Okay. Ian mentioned yesterday in Jesse Cox's stream that the old legendary system from Legion will be gone in Battle for Azeroth. But will there be any legendaries still in the game in Battle for Azeroth, or did you don't have decided that yet?
I think with any expansion, we take what we've learned from the previous one and iterate on that and just come up with what the right decision is. I don't think we've really finished that process yet, so we don't really have a good answer for what it's going to be going forward. But we've certainly learned a lot. There's a lot of good things about what we did in Legion and some things that we could do better. So we're taking that into account.
So Will, still talking about Warfronts, I'm really excited about that.
Good.
It's
Me too.
How much will there be? How much time will there be about building buildings, and raiding the other? So you're saying it's 20, but it's 20 versus 20 of the other faction, right?
No, it's actually a PvE experience.
Yeah. It's a PvE, okay.
Right.
It is, yeah.
So that's where I was confused a little bit. Okay, so it's 20 Horde or 20 Alliance.
Yes.
And then you play against like a commander that you have to defeat, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how much time will you be building buildings and then actually trying to kill the commander? Is it like
That's going to be up to you. I mean,
Okay.
you may decide that you want to have enough forces to go over and just completely overwhelm them. You might have some really adept players that want to do a sneak attack and try and get in there. I mean, it's going to be very challenging for you to just try and storm, the enemy base from the get-go. But it's completely up to you. You have a lot of decisions about which buildings you want to create. You might have a strategy around, summoning a group of wolves, for instance, and doing, just kind of the cavalry run in. Or you might want to, turtle up and kind of defend your own base as long as possible so that you've got the most power that you possibly can before you go after them. In which case, you might build a bunch of towers to defend.
Okay, then Stormguard is another Warfront we saw yesterday. Will it be as it looked like in the preview, also in the open world, or is it in the open world like it is now?
Well, it's going to be an instance, so the Warfront itself will be an instance. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. I've actually got to play it internally. It was really fun to just see how awesome Stormguard looks. I look forward to wrecking that castle a few times. That's Horde. Yeah.
So, but not in the open world.
We don't have plans to go back and transpose that into the existing world.
Okay.
So what allied race could potentially come up afterwards? We've seen 3 for the Alliance, 3 for the Horde. Really excited about that. Like, yay, new characters, awesome. What are we expecting next if we have? Maybe something.
Well, we're just giving you 6. Come on, that isn't enough.
Oh, that's great. Oh no, that is true. Absolutely.
See, your imagination's going wild like ours too, and
I like this.
we certainly would love to see more allied races. A lot of it's going to depend on how our players react to it. If this is something you're really enjoying, and you're engaging in, then of course it's something that we'll pursue in the future.
Every time we make a character or NPC, someone internally says, I want to play that character.
Obviously.
And someone in the community says, I want to play that character.
Doors.
I've wanted it since I originally went to Blackrock Mountain. I'm like, I want to be a dwarf priest that's Dark Iron, and now I get to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited for the potential that the tech brings, because we can do more with it, and we want to, but we want to make sure we make the right decisions.
Okay, and so let's see. Perhaps there is a secret allied race you can find the riddles,
That's a great idea, actually.
Well, you can create a rumor, I guess, and if it's good enough, you might influence us.
Yeah. I heard in another interview that there will be more character slots for the players with the allied races.
That's correct.
And but there was no number. Do you have a number how many more character slots we will get?
we're going to give you enough that if you want to do every allied race that's available to you, you'll be able to do that without having to delete a character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't want to make it difficult for the players to play our game. We want people to have a good experience. I think across your entire account you can have 50 characters. That's something we're going to stick with, but in terms of a per server thing, like we're going to come up with a good number there.
So, PV and PvP, great, we don't have a distinction anymore. I love
Finally.
it. But, what if I'm on a PV server and I'm the only PvP person on that server? Well, I know it's not going to happen, but let's suppose there's very few people on that PvP, on that server that activates PvP. How am I going to not feel like the world is empty? Am I going to be actually put in a instance with other realms? So are all the realms going to be basically in the same pool and you can see anyone from any other realm?
Well, in a lot of ways our architecture has evolved over time so that the actual in-game world that you're playing on doesn't have to be your realm. Like if I invited you to a group, you would come to my realm.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be your own realm. In this case, for PvE and PvP, you would go to a world area where other PvPers were playing. So it doesn't have to be your specific realm. For me, I'm super excited for this feature in particular because I grew up on a PvP server, but when I moved out here for work, it was an East Coast server. I had to go to a PvE server to raid, and I was like, I miss PvP so much. And now I have the ability to actually do it when I want to on my thing. So you can play with your friends on any server type no matter what, but still have the ability to play the type of game you want to play.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go back to allied races. You mentioned that they started at level 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will they have a starting zone-like experience?
No, I mean, we feel like that those starting zones were really teaching new players the basic mechanics, and that since allied races are being unlocked by a max level player, they already know the mechanics. So we'll start them at 20. We've actually taken our scaling tech, which we developed for Legion, so that now that level up experience should be really smooth, should be a lot of fun for you. You'll be able to actually complete quest lines before they go gray on you. You can jump into a dungeon, and when you pop back out again, you can still stay in the same zone. We are going to do some specific banding of zones. So, for instance, when you hit level 60, you're going to make a choice. Do you want to go to Outland and do the questing there, or do you want to go to Northern and do the questing there? So we're just kind of going through the whole, from 20 to 110 experience and smoothing that out.
I have like a little follow-up question about that. You mentioned that after level 60 you
choose your
banding expansions, but I guess Mist of Pandaria and Cataclysm were only good to level 90. I was wondering why not level 100? Why is the only option Draenor for level 100?
I mean, I think as we progress and go on through time, we might try to reevaluate those decisions. But really, when you look at it, it's an expansion pairing. Like Mist of Pandaria and Cataclysm are sort of paired to reach that level band, and Burning Crusade and Wrath are sort of paired to reach that level band. That's kind of how we came to that decision.
Okay.
So while communities, I was a little confused about how they're different from guilds. Can you be part of several communities at the same time? Can you just join, no approval needed, and you just find a community? But how do you find them too? Will there be an actual WoW community finding tool or something like that?
So for me, the way I want to interact with communities, it's about connecting people.
Yep.
And I noticed that while I have a guild, these are the people that I raid with, I socialize with. That's great, and I love that guild. I don't want to stray from that whatsoever. But I have a lot of coworkers who play the game that aren't in my guild, right? And so maybe we would have a World of Warcraft team community that if I'm not currently raiding, I could go into that community and say, hey, anybody want to come play PvP with me, or do a mythic dungeon or an island. And that's kind of what the advantage of communities are, is you can sort of broaden your base to connect with more people. And it doesn't just have to be your coworkers, your team. It could be your university, it could be your actual location, your community. It could be internet forums, like a Reddit community or something. So there's just lots of ways. It's just an attempt to connect more people to get us better playing together.
Right, so what will be the limits of numbers? Will it be hundreds of thousands like on Diablo, or will it be a lot more limited communities?
I can't remember the upper limit.
I think we're still kind of discussing that. We want to be reasonable. Like I think communities can get unwieldy if they're too large. But there's I think there's a reasonable limit there. I don't think we've really decided on what that number is yet.
And so you'll be able to join one community or several?
Many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the idea.
But somebody owns a community.
Yes.
So you will have to get it.
Yeah, there'll be like
or added by them. Right?
Oh, okay. So
moderation,
you
approval,
or okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I don't know if you know that, but on Battle.net Friendless, where a cap of 200 people, I guess you can have, is that still intact, or would you like to expand that also in the future?
So recently, a few years ago, we actually expanded it from 100 to 200, which was huge for me because I actually was at the 100 limit. I haven't actually reached the 200 limit yet, which is good. Have you? Oh man, you're actually in a very, very, very small minority. We actually have taken a look at some of the numbers, and the people in your situation is very few people. That obviously doesn't feel good though. Like that's not a great thing. We're always looking at ways to sort of improve and expand what that is. I don't think we have any plans right now to up the limit from 200. We are pretty happy with that, but yeah, I get it in your position.
Okay.
Sorry.
I forgot to ask my question again, which was, how do you find communities in WoW? Do we know that already, or maybe not? Like, will we have to get a link from someone, or is it going to be an actual tool in game where it's like, hey, I'm searching for Reddit community, for example?
I
think we're still working on that. I don't know if you have more details on that.
Nah, we haven't. I haven't even seen mock-ups of the UI yet for that. I mean, we want to support the functionality that's in Battle.net.
Yeah.
So there's another item level squish, or more like a squish of the item level. It's not exactly the same than the last time in
Yes.
Burner. Can you perhaps explain that a little bit more to us? What will the numbers be at the moment on the beta client here? The number is, I guess, a little bit over 300 for normal loot, for legendary loot in Terrors. And you have, I guess, 170 or so on the character you get there. Is that the final number where you're going, or are you still looking into that?
Well, we're still going to work on it until we get it right. But I do know that even downstairs right now on the demo, on the floor, it's actually playable with the squished numbers.
Yeah.
The thing that was different about this time that you pointed out was not just squishing of the statistics themselves, but actually squishing of the item level. It seems kind of weird when you get to really big numbers, you get this giant inflation. It's the nature of MMOs. And I actually like our approach because it really just kind of brings it back so you can keep the non-current content more linear. And then when you do get to the expansion, you do get that exponential increase. And then you just revisit that every once in a while, just kind of put it back in line.
Yeah, it feels weird at the beginning, and then you're used to it, right? It's just when we make that transition from, Legion to boom, Battle for Azeroth, people will be like, oh, the numbers got small. And they usually freak out for about a day or two, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I think
there's the new normal.
And it's probably going to happen before the expansion anyway, right? I mean, that was the case. The squishing was done before.
Yeah, we usually do
a
it
little bit before, so you get used to it even before you actually get to the new content.
Yeah, traditionally we do the pre-patch
Yeah.
before we actually release the expansion content.
So the numbers are going to get squished in the expansion. Are they? On the demo they are, but are they?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
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 Yeah. We don't want to have a string of zeros across the screen every time you're
Mega damage.
I've seen the graphs.
My DPS is 1 billion.
Yeah.
Which basically is the artifact power right now. It's like, hey, you're getting 740 million. Oh, okay, that's
Getting a big number. I mean, the thing there is you just watch the progress bar go up. I mean, that's really what you're
that's
what you're looking at.
Happens. Will there be legendaries? Because we haven't had any news about legendaries in the expansion.
I mean, we haven't decided, honestly. We haven't said what we're going to do with legendaries. So obviously we can if we choose to. So.
Okay, currently no. We'll see. We'll find them eventually, if they are.
So we got recently the Mystic Dungeon Invitational, and do you happen to know if there are any plans to do more of this kind of PvE sport content?
I know we're really happy with how that went. Like that went
Me too.
amazingly well. There's clearly people who want that. That's something that's interesting to us. We'll have to take a look and see if that's in our plans.
Can you give more examples of what skills the heart of Azeroth can unlock? Because we had one example at the panel, which was like the druid, I think, like wolf aspect, where you can like be in the fire and not be in the whatever. Do you have other examples of what could come up? I know it's
nothing right now, because people tend to lock onto that, and then, if we say something and then we decide not to, then they'll be sad. I would say this is one of those things. Check it out when we throw it into PTR, and even then we're gonna play around with skills.
Yeah.
We want them to be fun and fit the idea that you have for your class or your spec. But we also have to be careful not to make them too OP. So it's like, you want it just on the edge, right? Just where you feel powerful, but not to the point where it's like, oh, you got to do that, and everything else is a bad decision.
So there's a little bit information about patch 7.3.5. I mean, like time walking Uldora, the new battleground, and I guess some other
level
stuff.
scaling.
What?
The zone scaling.
Oh yeah, the zone scaling.
Zone scaling.
Will there be another patch in Legion like 7.4 with more content? Or
we haven't announced anything past 7.3.5.
Okay. Is there more in 7.3.5?
That's a lot in 7.3.5, isn't it? I mean, like, I'd be looking forward to the zone scaling stuff personally. I'm actually, so what's funny is I'm like a collector, and some of the old transmogs of going through all those quests to do, I've been meaning to do that, and now like I'll have an opportunity. Although I might wait for allied races and then just do it then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, our .5 patches are typically smaller patches, and this is actually more content than we would normally put in a .5. If you've noticed, if you kind of compare it to 7.1.5 or 7.2.5.
So you don't have any more information, any new stuff you haven't talked about yet for 3.5?
No.
It'll be up on the PTR soon.
What a surprise. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So, will islands expeditions be entirely random, or will players be able to select which islands they're going to? So I'm talking about like where you go, not what happens.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Honestly, we can do it either way. I don't know that we've decided if it's going to be completely random or if we're going to give you a little bit of control.
Okay.
It's honestly something that we'll ask Patrick to say, hey, give us the flexibility so that as people are playing it, if it turns out that, because of certain group compositions, there's a type of island that they enjoy more, they play better, we might give them that ability.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you on that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's perfect.
So about the Legion patch cycle, it was pretty, I mean,
Hashtag 77 days, yeah.
Yes. Will it be perhaps the same in Battle for Azeroth? Are you overall?
I mean, we think we have a really good process now, and we were able to turn out good content on a regular basis. We didn't have to make any sacrifice in quality to do it. We didn't have to kill the team to do it either, so we feel pretty good about. It was sustainable for us, and in a way, it was a little bit of an experiment too, because we wanted to see, did our players enjoy getting that, those frequent updates, and they seem to. So that is our plan for Battle for Azeroth, is to execute on that and be able to continue to deliver. Now, will it always be 77 days? No, no guarantees on that. It's actually kind of ironic that it worked out that way. I would love to tell you that there was a master plan.
There was no master plan.
There were dates that we chose, but we've always, we're notorious, right, for saying we'll release it when it's ready, and we're very true to that. And we set goals for ourselves, and it was just great. It worked out great. I mean, the irony is one of them wasn't really supposed to be 77 days. It was supposed to be a week later, and we decided, we're ready now. Let's just go. So, and that was 7/2. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it will probably be a multiple of 7 days. So every Tuesday. One thing that actually helps with this and makes it easier, not just the development process that we've iterated on to make better. Patching has actually become a lot easier for us as a team. In fact, if you've noticed historically, WoW patches would take up to 8 hours plus of downtime. That's actually been drastically reduced in the Legion cycle. I think most of the time it's between 1 and 2 hours, which is better. We just want to get the players playing as soon as possible. So we've made a real effort to get the content to people quickly and with less downtime.
Last question, please.
All right. With a zones and the being expanded to more levels now, like you can actually go to more zones, will there also be visual changes, such as actual nice trees in the Elwyn Forest?
You're talking about changes to the old world?
You don't love our trees?
I mean, they're nice. They're still trees. I can say that. But they're looking a little old now. You know? It's been a while.
It is funny. Every time we, especially like when we had the order halls, and then we had quests going back in the old world. Of course, our artists are like, oh, we want to go back and redo all of this. Yeah. But no, we don't have any plans to do that. If we do that, then we're really kind of taking away from what we're going to do in new content. But from time to time, if something significant happens in an area, we might do a little bit of an update. We just don't want it to be jarring. Where you're used to seeing Elwyn Forest the way it is, and all of a sudden on one hill is this new tree.
Well, and the other good thing is we patch frequently enough that we can always revisit something. If we decide that something does need to be updated or changed, if we want to make that decision, we're always iterating on the visual look of the game. Things like Combat Revamp have really shown that we can make some strong strides in terms of that. So,
definitely. Great. All right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks.
It's fun.
Great question.